The space station floated silently above the violet-blue planet, its shining towers reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Inside, the corridors buzzed softly with the hum of machinery and the gentle footsteps of alien residents. Among them, a small, sleek figure moved quickly, her 4 limbs adjusting perfectly to the low gravity. She was Zira, the household maid of the Drenari family, a species known for their elegance, precision, and love of order. Every corner of their home shimmered, every surface spotless, every object exactly where it should be. Zira prided herself on following strict routines, the kind of routines no human could ever understand. Yet today, something unusual was happening. The Drenari household had hired a human maid, Ilara, to assist with cleaning. Zira had observed humans from afar before. They were curious, inventive, and unpredictable, but chaotic. The idea of a human touching the family's pristine home made Zira twitch with unease. Ilara arrived aboard a small shuttle, her boots clacking softly against the station's metallic floor. She was of average height, with short brown hair tied in a practical ponytail, and her eyes sparkled with a lively energy. Unlike the aliens who moved with smooth, deliberate motions, she walked quickly, gesturing freely with her hands. To Zira, she seemed almost messy. "Greetings," Ilara said, smiling warmly. "I'm here to help with cleaning. I hear you have one of the most beautiful homes in this sector." The Drenari matriarch, Lady Taria, inclined her head politely. "We are pleased to host you. Zira will show you the rules of this household." Zira's antennae twitched at the word rules. She was more than ready to demonstrate the correct ways of maintaining order. Ilara followed Zira through the vast halls, eyes wide as she looked at the polished floors, hovering furniture, and softly glowing walls. "Wow," she breathed. "Everything is perfect." "Perfection is expected," Zira replied, her voice calm but firm. "Every object must be in its proper place. Every surface must be spotless. Any deviation is unacceptable." Ilara chuckled lightly. "I understand. I'll do my best." As the day went on, Zira observed Ilara's methods. Humans did not use the hovering scrubbers or anti-gravity dusters that Zira considered essential. Instead, Ilara carried a simple mop and a bucket of cleaning solution, moving with fluid motions that seemed almost random. Zira could not understand it. The mop left streaks at first, yet somehow the floor became clean. She watched, fascinated but skeptical. Why would a human use such primitive tools? Zira asked silently to herself. It is inefficient. Despite her doubts, Zira was curious. She had never tried human cleaning methods herself. Alien cleaning required precision, adherence to strict protocols, and constant calculation. Humans, however, seemed to rely on intuition, improvisation, and sometimes sheer luck. There was something intriguing about it, something she could not ignore. By evening, the household settled into its normal, quiet rhythm. The aliens dined on synthesized nutrients while Ilara prepared her simple, human-style meal. Zira cleaned alongside her hands moving with careful precision. But her mind was elsewhere. She kept glancing at the mop, at the bucket, at the way Ilara moved. "I wonder," Zira whispered to herself, "if this human method works so well, could it be improved by alien precision?" The thought excited her more than she would admit. For centuries, Zira had followed rules without question. Now the possibility of blending human creativity with alien order sparked a small thrill in her circuits. That night, after Ilara retired to her quarters, Zira made her decision. She would try the human method herself. She waited until the house was quiet, the soft hum of the station filling the background. Carefully, she gathered the mop, the bucket, and the cleaning solution. Everything had to be precise, as always. But she would attempt it exactly as she had seen Ilara do it, without adding her usual calculations. At least at first. Zira began at the main hallway. She dipped the mop into the bucket, wringing it carefully, then pressed it to the floor. At first, the movements felt awkward. The mop was heavier than she expected, the solution foamy and slippery. Her 4 limbs moved in patterns that were not natural for her species. But slowly she found a rhythm. The floor became cleaner with each pass. Zira felt a strange satisfaction, different from the rigid order she usually experienced. It was enjoyable. Suddenly, her foot slipped slightly on a wet patch. She recovered, but the incident gave her pause. The human method was unpredictable, and that unpredictability both frightened and fascinated her. "I must be careful," she muttered, "but perhaps this is a method worth learning." As she continued, a small noise caught her attention. One of the household's pets, a floating, furry creature named Lumbee, hovered nearby, sniffing curiously. Lumbee had never seen a mop in action before. With a quick flick of its tail, it splashed a small amount of solution onto the wall. Zyra gasped, carefully wiping the spot before it caused a bigger mess. The chaos, though small, made her heart, or whatever part of her body functioned like a heart, beat faster. There was an excitement in human methods that alien methods lacked: risk, adaptation, and improvisation. Zyra realized that cleaning could be more than a routine. It could be an experiment, a challenge, a game. Hours passed as Zyra practiced, her movements becoming more confident. She discovered ways to combine her alien precision with the human techniques. She adjusted the mop angle, controlled the solution flow, and even anticipated Lumbee's unpredictable movements. The floor shone like never before, and yet there was a kind of lively energy in the room that Zyra had never felt with her usual routines. Finally, she stepped back to observe her work. The hall gleamed. The floating furniture reflected the soft lights perfectly, and even Lumbee seemed impressed, circling happily above the floor. Zyra felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had not only tried something new but had adapted it to her alien abilities. At that moment, Zyra understood something important. Humans were chaotic, yes, but there was brilliance in that chaos. They relied on creativity, intuition, and problem-solving in ways aliens often dismissed. By observing and learning from them, she could improve herself, and perhaps even teach others that there was value beyond strict rules. As she returned the mop and bucket to their proper place, Zyra felt a small thrill of anticipation. Tomorrow she would try again, perhaps even during the day when Alara was working. She wanted to see what else human methods could teach her. And in the quiet of the night, with the stars glimmering beyond the station's windows, Zyra made a silent promise she would master this human technique. Not just to clean, but to learn, to grow, and to bring a new kind of brilliance to her world. For the first time, Zyra felt a strange, thrilling hope. Humans, she realized, were not only chaotic, they were special. The next morning, the Drenari household awoke to the soft hum of the space station's engines. Sunlight from the 3 distant suns streamed through the translucent walls, casting soft, multicolored patterns across the polished floors. Zyra, already awake, moved quietly through the halls. Her thoughts were focused on a single mission. She would try the human cleaning method again, but this time, she would do it fully on her own. Alara had left for a quick supply run to the station market, trusting Zyra to maintain order. Zyra had been careful the previous night, but now she felt confident. She had studied the human movements, the rhythm, and the way Alara seemed to dance with the mop. Today she wanted to do more than mimic. She wanted to master it. Zyra prepared the tools carefully. The mop was coiled neatly, the bucket half filled with cleaning solution and the floor already swept of dust. She paused to observe the arrangement, noting how the sunlight reflected off the surfaces. Precision was important even when experimenting. With a deep breath, Zyra dipped the mop into the solution and wrung it with careful pressure. She began at the main hallway, moving methodically at first, mimicking Alara's sweeping motions. The mop glided over the floor, leaving behind shiny, wet streaks. Zyra felt a thrill she had never experienced with her usual routines. "This is different," she whispered to herself, a note of excitement in her voice. Unpredictable, but effective. However, as she moved into the living area, Zyra encountered her first challenge. The household's anti-gravity furnishings hovered slightly above the floor, creating strange air currents. Each sweep of the mop sent small ripples of cleaning solution across the polished surface, making the furniture wobble slightly. Zyra adjusted her movements carefully, but then, splash, a small amount of solution landed on the side of a hovering table. Zyra froze. In alien protocol, this would have been a disaster. Any imperfection could be seen as failure. Yet she took a deep breath and adapted, wiping the table with careful strokes. She realized something important. Humans did not fear mistakes the way aliens did. They learned from them. Perhaps chaos was not always bad. It could teach if one paid attention. Encouraged, Zyra moved faster, gaining confidence. She twirled the mop to reach under furniture, leaning her 4 limbs into a rhythm she had never known. The solution glistened across the floors, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling patterns. She began to enjoy the unpredictability, even laughing softly as she went. And then, the chaos began. Lumbee, the floating pet, hovered nearby, curious about the movement of the mop. With a sudden flick of its tail, it knocked over the bucket. The cleaning solution spilled in a wide arc across the floor, creating a slippery, glowing pool. Zira tried to catch it, but her four limbs were spread in all directions, each trying to compensate. The mop slipped from her grip, spinning across the floor and hitting a hovering vase. The vase tilted dangerously but did not fall thanks to its anti-gravity field. Zira's heart, or whatever part of her body functioned like a heart, pounded. She had never experienced this much unpredictability during her strict alien routines. For a moment she considered abandoning the experiment, but then she remembered the thrill she had felt last night. Humans did not give up at the first sign of chaos. Why should she? Taking a deep breath, Zira adjusted her approach. She focused on one task at a time, controlling the mop with careful precision, wringing the excess solution from it, and redirecting Lumbee gently with a flick of her wrist. Slowly, the situation came under control. She could hear the soft clinks and hums of the furniture settling, the glow of the solution reflecting evenly on the floor. By the time Alara returned, Zira was halfway through the living area. The hallway shimmered under the morning light, though small puddles remained. Zira was still working when she heard a familiar voice. "You're having fun, aren't you?" Alara said, leaning in the doorway with a small smile. Zira froze. I am attempting the human cleaning method," she replied formally. "I am combining it with alien precision to optimize the process," Alara laughed softly. "I see, but it looks like a little chaos got in the way." Zira tilted her head. "Chaos is manageable. It is instructive." "Exactly," Alara said, stepping closer. "Humans don't worry too much about perfection. We learn as we go. Sometimes mistakes teach more than following rules ever could." Zira considered this. She had always believed that perfection required strict routines, calculations, and precision. But watching Alara handle spills, adjusting movements without panic, Zira realized there was a different kind of mastery, one that embraced unpredictability and learned from it. Together, they continued the cleaning. Alara demonstrated a few techniques, dipping the mop lightly, adjusting the pressure, moving in flowing patterns rather than rigid lines. Zira tried to imitate, her four limbs adjusting to the rhythm. At first, her movements were awkward. The mop slipped, and solution sprayed in unexpected directions. Lumbee hovered nervously, dodging puddles, but then a small breakthrough occurred. Zira discovered how to combine human fluidity with alien precision. She twirled the mop in careful arcs, controlling the flow of solution perfectly, and found a rhythm that kept furniture stable while cleaning efficiently. The floor shone brightly, reflecting the alien sunlight and the glow of the hovering lamps. "This is fascinating," Zira said, eyes wide. "The human method is unpredictable yet highly effective," Alara smiled. "See, there's more to cleaning than following strict rules. Sometimes you just have to feel your way through it." For the first time, Zira understood the value of human intuition. It was not chaotic in a useless way. It was flexible, adaptive, and alive. And humans, she realized, were remarkable for embracing it. But the chaos was not over yet. Zira, encouraged by her progress, attempted a more ambitious move, cleaning the upper walls while controlling the mop and managing Lumbee. She reached higher than usual, twisting in ways her body was not fully accustomed to. A sudden slip sent the mop flying across the room. It spun through the air like a small comet, narrowly missing a glowing wall panel but landing with a splash of solution on a floating chair. Zira froze, then exhaled slowly. "Adjustment required," she muttered. Instead of panicking, she adapted. She retrieved the mop, stabilized the chair with her limbs, and continued her work, this time more cautiously but still fluidly. Alara watched quietly, impressed. Zira was learning quickly, combining alien control with human unpredictability. The process was messy, sometimes chaotic, but the results were undeniable. The floors were cleaner than ever, and the house seemed alive with energy. Even Lumbee's playful antics became part of the rhythm, adding unpredictability that Zira learned to anticipate. By afternoon, the major chaos had subsided. The house was spotless, the furniture stable, and the cleaning solution properly contained. Zira stepped back to observe her work. her chest swelling with pride. She had not only tried the human method but had survived its chaos, and even improved it with her alien precision. Ilara clapped softly. "You did it! Not only did you handle the human way, but you added your own touch. That's the best part, learning from each other." Zyra nodded. "Indeed, I did not expect to find enjoyment in imperfection. Yet it has value," Ilara smiled. "Humans believe mistakes are just another form of learning. You've discovered that today." Zyra considered this as she observed the sparkling floors, the neatly arranged furniture, and the happy, hovering Lumbee. She realized that this first attempt at the human cleaning method was more than just a lesson in mopping. It was a lesson in adaptation, creativity, and the power of human ingenuity. And in that quiet moment, Zyra felt a small thrill of hope. Perhaps humans were not just chaotic creatures, they were extraordinary. They could teach lessons no alien routine ever could. And Zyra, eager and curious, wanted to learn more. She glanced at the mop and bucket, knowing that tomorrow would bring another experiment, another chance to refine her skills. And perhaps next time the chaos would be even greater, but so would the excitement. For Zyra had discovered something important. Humans, with their messy, unpredictable methods, had a brilliance that could not be measured by rules alone, and she wanted to understand it fully. The next morning, Zyra awoke earlier than usual. She felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness coursing through her system. Yesterday's experiment with the human cleaning method had been a success, but she knew that mastering it would require pushing boundaries, testing limits, adapting to unpredictability, and learning to embrace chaos without fear. The Drenari household was quiet, with most members still resting in their sleep pods. Ilara had returned to her quarters to plan for the day, leaving Zyra alone with the mop, bucket, and her determination. She carefully checked her tools, making sure the cleaning solution was mixed correctly and the mop fibers were properly aligned. Precision mattered, even in chaos. Zyra started in the main hall again, dipping the mop into the solution and wringing it with careful attention. This time, however, she attempted something more ambitious, cleaning the upper walls and corners while simultaneously mopping the floors. She believed that combining multiple tasks, as humans often did, would enhance efficiency. At first, everything went smoothly. Zyra's four limbs moved in perfect coordination. The mop glided over the floor, and with a precise swing of her upper limbs, the walls shimmered under the cleaning solution. She felt a thrill of accomplishment. She was no longer just following a human method. She was adapting it, improving it with alien precision. Then the first signs of chaos appeared. The household's anti-gravity furniture, sensitive to vibrations and air currents, began to wobble. Zyra tried to adjust, balancing the mop and solution while stabilizing a hovering chair. But Lumbee, the mischievous pet, saw an opportunity for fun. With a quick flick of its tail, Lumbee sent a small floating lamp spinning across the room. Zyra's eyes widened. "Lumbee, stabilize," she commanded, reaching to catch the lamp. Her movements, though precise, were stretched thin. The mop slipped from her grasp, skidding across the floor and spraying solution onto the glowing wall panels. Small puddles formed, making the floor dangerously slippery. For a moment, Zyra panicked. She had never experienced such uncontrolled chaos. But then she remembered Ilara's words. Humans embraced mistakes and learned from them. Taking a deep breath, Zyra adapted. She used one limb to steady the lamp, another to control the mop, and two more to push floating furniture back into position. Slowly, order returned, but it was fragile, and she knew the chaos was far from over. Encouraged, Zyra continued her ambitious cleaning. She twirled the mop in wide arcs, moving solution across floors and walls simultaneously. The liquid shimmered under the station lights, reflecting the colors of the distant suns. But as she worked, the cleaning solution reacted strangely with the alien materials in the home. A previously inert decorative panel began to glow brightly, and the hovering furniture floated higher than usual, caught in the strange currents. Zyra froze. "Unexpected interaction detected," she whispered. "Adjustment required." She tried to stabilize the situation, but every action seemed to create new ripples of chaos. The mop sprayed solution onto a floating vase, which began to wobble uncontrollably. Lumbee squeaked in alarm, circling frantically around the room. At that moment, Ilara returned, sensing unusual activity in the household. She stopped in the doorway, eyes wide, taking in the scene. The floor was slick with solution. Furniture hovered unpredictably. Glowing panels pulsed softly, and Zira was at the center, balancing mop, bucket, and floating objects with every ounce of her strength. Well, Alara said slowly, trying not to laugh. This is impressive, Zira turned, startled. It is a controlled experiment, she replied, her voice tense but calm. I am testing the limits of human cleaning methods. Ilara raised an eyebrow. Controlled, huh? I'd call it a small-scale disaster, but you're handling it better than I expected. Zira considered this. In alien terms, disaster was a failure. In human terms, it was an opportunity to learn. Perhaps she was beginning to see the brilliance of humans more clearly than ever before. She continued her work, this time carefully integrating human intuition with alien calculation. She moved the mop in precise arcs, predicting the floating object's movements and adjusting solution flow. Lumbee, now more cautious, followed her rhythm instead of disrupting it. Slowly, the house began to return to order, though the chaotic energy lingered. Even the Dranari family, observing from a distance, could not help but be impressed. They had always valued perfection and control. Yet here was Zira, embracing unpredictability and emerging victorious. Her adaptation was remarkable, a combination of alien skill and human ingenuity. By mid-morning, Zira had managed to stabilize the house. The floors gleamed, panels glowed softly without causing chaos, and furniture floated in orderly positions. Lumbee hovered nearby, calm and obedient. Zira stepped back to admire her work, feeling a sense of accomplishment she had never known before. Alara clapped softly. You've done it. You managed the chaos and came out on top. That's the human spirit at work, learning, adapting, and never giving up. Zira nodded, a small smile on her face. Indeed, chaos can be instructive, and humans possess a remarkable resilience, Alara laughed. You're learning fast, but there's one more thing humans do. You have to enjoy the process. It's not just about results. It's about the journey. Zira considered this. Alien routines focused on outcomes, not the experience. But humans valued creativity, intuition, and learning from unpredictability. Perhaps there was more to life than strict order. Perhaps there was value in the unexpected. Feeling inspired, Zira decided to experiment further. She adjusted the mop's angle, moved with more fluidity, and even tried a few playful spins just as Alara had done. The cleaning solution shimmered in arcs across the floor, creating a dazzling effect. The house seemed alive, vibrant and energetic. Then Zira noticed a small oversight. A patch of solution had spilled near the kitchen entrance. She reached to mop it up but misjudged her movement. The mop slipped, sending solution flying into the air. A hovering fruit bowl tilted dangerously, scattering colorful orbs that bounced across the floor. Lumbee squeaked in surprise, and Zira realized that the chaos was far from over. Instead of panicking, Zira adapted. She moved with fluid precision, catching the fruit in midair, redirecting the mop and stabilizing the floating furniture. Each action required careful calculation, yet she allowed herself a small sense of enjoyment. The house was chaotic, yes, but it was alive, dynamic, and full of energy. By afternoon, the chaos had subsided once more. Zira stepped back, mop in hand, surveying the results. The floors gleamed, furniture floated perfectly, and Lumbee hovered happily above the kitchen. The house had been transformed, not just clean but vibrant, energized, and alive with motion. Alara smiled, impressed. You see, chaos isn't bad. It teaches you, stretches your abilities, and helps you grow. Humans embrace it, and now so do you. Zira nodded. Indeed, I have discovered a new dimension to cleaning. Not merely precision, but creativity, adaptability, and resilience. Humans are extraordinary. At that moment, Zira realized something profound. The experiment had been more than a lesson in cleaning. It had been a lesson in life. Human methods were chaotic, yes, but they were brilliant in their flexibility, creativity, and courage to face the unexpected. And Zira, for the first time, felt a connection to that brilliance. The day ended with the Dranari household spotless and orderly, yet infused with a new energy. Zira, exhausted but exhilarated, placed the mop and bucket in their proper locations and allowed herself a rare moment of pride. She had not only survived the chaos but had thrived in it, learning lessons no alien routine could have taught. And as she looked out the window at the distant suns, Zira felt a deep sense of purpose. Humans were not just strange, unpredictable creatures. They were extraordinary beings, capable of creativity, resilience, and brilliance. And she, Zyra, was determined to learn everything she could from them. Tomorrow, she thought, she would take the experiment even further. Perhaps she would attempt new techniques, challenge herself with more complex cleaning patterns, and test the limits of human ingenuity. Chaos, she realized, was not something to fear, it was something to embrace. For Zyra, the adventure had just begun. The next day dawned bright and clear on the space station, sunlight streaming through the translucent walls of the Drenari household. Zyra awoke early, energized and eager. Yesterday's experiments with the human cleaning method had been chaotic, exhilarating, and enlightening. Today, however, she felt ready to take the next step. She would not simply imitate humans, she would collaborate with one. Ilara was already in the kitchen when Zyra entered, preparing a simple breakfast. "Good morning, Zyra," she called cheerfully. "Ready for today?" Zyra nodded, her four limbs moving with unusual enthusiasm. "Yes, I wish to combine my methods with yours. Together, we may achieve greater efficiency and creativity." Ilara's eyes sparkled. "I like the sound of that. Humans learn best when we share ideas, and it looks like you're ready to experiment together." The two began their day in the main hall. Ilara demonstrated a few more human techniques, showing Zyra how to move the mop in fluid arcs, adjust pressure for different surfaces, and even anticipate small accidents before they happened. Zyra watched closely, her mind calculating and absorbing each movement. "Notice how I tilt the mop slightly when cleaning corners," Ilara said, sweeping a small puddle of solution into the bucket. "It's not perfect, but it works with a little patience." Zyra tilted her head. "Interesting. Flexibility, yet controlled. A balance between chaos and order." Together, they tackled the floors. Zyra moved with her usual precision while Ilara added human fluidity and intuition. The results were striking. The floors gleamed brighter than ever, and the motion seemed almost like a dance. Each sweep was deliberate yet flexible, each movement a combination of order and creativity. Then they turned to the walls. Zyra had always cleaned walls in strict measured strokes. Ilara showed her how to move in sweeping arcs, following the flow of light and shadows to catch hidden dust. Zyra attempted the technique, adjusting her movements to account for gravity currents, floating furniture, and Lumby's playful interruptions. At first, small mistakes occurred. A glob of solution splashed onto a glowing panel, and Lumby knocked over a small decorative object. Zyra quickly adapted, using her alien abilities to stabilize everything. But instead of frustration, she felt excitement. She was learning to anticipate chaos and work with it, not against it. Ilara clapped softly. "See, mistakes aren't failures, they're learning opportunities. You're adapting perfectly." Zyra considered this. Alien routines prized perfection, but human methods valued growth through trial and error. Perhaps there was wisdom in embracing unpredictability, rather than fearing it. After the walls, they moved to the kitchen. The kitchen presented a new challenge. Small appliances, floating utensils, and anti-gravity surfaces made cleaning difficult. Zyra usually relied on precise calculations, moving slowly and methodically. Ilara, however, relied on intuition, adjusting her movements in real time. Together, they found a rhythm. Zyra controlled the mop and cleaning solution, while Ilara guided floating utensils, catching spills before they became disasters. Lumby hovered nearby, now acting as a playful assistant rather than a chaotic force. The kitchen gleamed under their combined efforts, showing that collaboration could achieve results neither could manage alone. "Your method, combined with mine," Zyra said thoughtfully, "creates efficiency and creativity. I understand now why humans are remarkable," Ilara laughed. "We're not perfect, but we're clever, and you're catching on fast." As the day went on, they tackled increasingly difficult tasks. They cleaned the upper walls, polished the hovering furniture, and even experimented with new techniques, tilting the mop to create sparkling patterns on the floors, gently swaying floating tables to distribute cleaning solution evenly, and moving in sync to cover larger areas quickly. Each task was a blend of alien precision and human adaptability. Zyra found herself enjoying the process more than she had ever enjoyed her routine work. There was creativity in motion, intuition in timing, and even joy in imperfection. She realized that humans had something extraordinary, a willingness to embrace unpredictability, learn from mistakes, and find joy in every task. The Drenari family began to notice the difference. They had always expected perfection, but what they saw today was something more. Efficiency combined with vitality. The house gleamed brighter than ever, yet it felt alive. There was energy in the movement, a subtle rhythm in the way cleaning was performed. Lady Taria observed quietly from the living area. "Zira, you are performing beyond expectation. The house is clean, yes, but it is alive. There is a sense of motion, a vibrancy I have never seen." Zira inclined her head respectfully. "I have learned from humans. Their methods embrace flexibility, creativity, and adaptation. It enhances my abilities." The matriarch's eyes widened slightly. "Indeed. Perhaps we have underestimated human ingenuity." Encouraged by the recognition, Zira and Alara continued their collaboration. Zira began to anticipate problems before they occurred. Floating furniture wobbling, Lumbee chasing stray mop fibers, and the occasional spill of solution. She adjusted her movements instinctively, blending her alien precision with the intuitive human approach she had learned from Alara. By mid-afternoon, the entire household was sparkling. Floors reflected sunlight. Walls shone without streaks, and furniture hovered in perfect alignment. Even Lumbee seemed satisfied, circling the rooms in delight. Zira felt a deep sense of pride, not just in the cleanliness of the home, but in the collaboration that had made it possible. Alara smiled at Zira. "You've come a long way. You're not just learning human methods, you're mastering them and improving them with your own abilities. That's what makes this so exciting." Zira considered this. Alien routines prized repetition and control, but humans valued experimentation, adaptation, and creativity. By combining the two, she had discovered something extraordinary. A method that was both precise and flexible, efficient and adaptable. Feeling inspired, Zira decided to push the experiment further. She suggested they try a new technique, cleaning the floating upper surfaces while simultaneously moving on the ground floors, creating a pattern that resembled a flowing dance. Alara agreed, and together they moved in perfect harmony. The mop swirled through the air. Solution shimmered across walls and floors, and furniture glided in synchronization with their movements. The result was breathtaking. The house gleamed as never before, and yet it felt alive, dynamic, and vibrant. Zira had not only learned human methods, she had transformed them, combining alien skill with human creativity to create something new. Lady Taria and the rest of the family emerged from their quarters, observing the results. "Remarkable," said the matriarch. "The house is cleaner than ever, yet there is a sense of life and energy we have never experienced. This collaboration is extraordinary." Zira bowed slightly. "It is the result of human ingenuity combined with alien precision. Both methods complement each other." Alara laughed softly. "And we made it fun too. That's important. Cleaning should be efficient, but it can also be enjoyable." Zira considered this, realizing how much she had learned, not just about cleaning, but about humans themselves. They were adaptable, creative, and resilient. They embraced unpredictability, learned from mistakes, and found joy in every action. In short, they were extraordinary beings. By evening, the household was spotless, vibrant, and organized in ways neither Zira nor Alara could have achieved alone. Zira placed the mop and bucket carefully in their storage area, feeling a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she had experienced before. Alara clapped her hands softly. "You see? Working together makes everything better. You've embraced human methods, improved them with your alien abilities, and created something extraordinary. That's the power of collaboration." Zira nodded. "Indeed, humans possess creativity, adaptability, and resilience. I am grateful for their guidance. Together, we can achieve more than either could alone." As the stars shimmered outside the station's windows, Zira felt a deep sense of purpose. Humans were not just chaotic beings, they were remarkable, capable of teaching lessons no alien routine could provide. And she, Zira, had learned to embrace that brilliance fully. Tomorrow, she thought, she would refine her hybrid methods even further. Perhaps she would experiment with new patterns, challenge herself with more complex cleaning tasks, and explore the limits of human creativity combined with alien precision. The possibilities were endless and exciting. For Zira, the adventure of learning and collaboration had only just begun. The morning sun of the 3 distant suns streamed into the Drenari household. painting the polished floors with soft, colorful light. Zyra awoke with a feeling she had never experienced before: confidence. After days of observing, experimenting, and collaborating with Alara, she had finally mastered the human cleaning method. Not only that, but she had improved it with her alien precision, creating a hybrid technique that was efficient, creative, and surprisingly fun. Alara was already in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared breakfast. "Good morning, Zyra," she called cheerfully. "Ready for the big day?" Zyra inclined her head. "Yes, today I will demonstrate the perfected method. I wish to show both the family and you the results of our collaboration." Alara's eyes sparkled. "I can't wait to see it." The Drenari family gathered in the main hall, curious to witness Zyra's demonstration. Lady Taria, the matriarch, observed with interest, her glowing eyes reflecting calm authority. Other family members hovered nearby, their limbs folded respectfully. Zyra felt a mixture of pride and nervous excitement. Today was not just about cleaning. It was about showing what humans and aliens could achieve together. Zyra started with the floors, dipping the mop into the cleaning solution with careful precision. She moved in fluid arcs, balancing speed and accuracy, predicting the motions of floating furniture, and keeping Lumbee entertained without disrupting her work. Every sweep of the mop reflected the lessons she had learned from Alara: adaptability, anticipation, and joy in the process. As she moved to the walls, Zyra incorporated techniques learned through observation and collaboration. She tilted the mop to reach corners, adjusted pressure for different surfaces, and even added small, graceful spins that allowed the solution to spread evenly. The walls shimmered with a polished glow, reflecting the sunlight and creating patterns that seemed almost artistic. The family watched in awe. They had expected clean floors and walls, but what they saw was beyond ordinary perfection. There was a rhythm, a vibrancy, and an energy in the space that made the entire household feel alive. Zyra's mastery was evident, not rigid but dynamic, combining precision and creativity seamlessly. Alara stood beside her, guiding Lumbee to hover calmly and assisting with small adjustments. "See, Zyra? You've taken human methods and made them even better. The house is clean and yet it feels alive." Zyra nodded, focusing on the final stages of her demonstration. She moved to the floating furniture, polishing surfaces while keeping them perfectly balanced. Lumbee floated happily nearby, occasionally twirling around her in delight. Even small mistakes were quickly corrected and the process seemed effortless. Lady Taria stepped forward, her expression one of admiration. "Zyra, your work is exceptional. The house is cleaner than I have ever seen, yet it radiates energy and life. This is a remarkable achievement." Zyra inclined her head respectfully. "Thank you, Lady Taria. I have learned from humans, their adaptability, creativity, and intuition. By combining their methods with my own abilities, I have improved the process." The matriarch's eyes glowed softly. "Indeed. Humans may be unpredictable, but they possess brilliance we often overlook. You have embraced that brilliance, Zyra, and made it your own." Zyra felt a deep sense of pride. For the first time, she realized that humans were not chaotic in a useless way. They were brilliant, resilient, and capable of teaching lessons even aliens could not easily learn. Encouraged by the family's response, Zyra decided to demonstrate the full range of her hybrid method. She moved swiftly across the floors, simultaneously cleaning walls and adjusting furniture. Lumbee assisted playfully, dodging spills and twirling above her in harmony. Small splashes of solution reflected sunlight, creating dazzling patterns that added to the artistry of the demonstration. Alara clapped softly. "You've mastered it. This is beyond what I could have imagined. Humans are creative, but you've elevated the method with your alien precision. It's perfect." Zyra paused, taking in the sparkling home. Everything was spotless, orderly, and yet full of life. She had not just cleaned the house, she had transformed it, turning a routine task into a display of skill, creativity, and joy. But Zyra's mastery did not stop there. She wanted to show the family that even chaos could be controlled and adapted. With a careful adjustment of her movements, she intentionally sent a small splash of solution toward a floating vase. Instead of causing disruption, the vase glided gracefully in the air, catching the solution in a controlled arc. Lumbee twirled around it playfully and Zyra caught the mop just in time to maintain perfect balance. The family gasped in admiration. "It is not just clean," said one of the younger Drenari. "It is alive. The house moves with the cleaning itself." Zira smiled. "This is the result of collaboration. Human intuition, combined with alien precision, creates not just order but harmony." Ilara laughed softly, "And a little fun too. Humans believe mistakes and playfulness make learning stronger. Looks like you understand that now." Zira nodded. She had not only learned the human method, she had embraced the philosophy behind it: flexibility, creativity, and the willingness to face unexpected challenges. She felt a deep admiration for humans and a newfound respect for her own abilities to adapt and improve. After completing her demonstration, Zira carefully placed the mop and bucket in their proper storage. She turned to the family, who were all visibly impressed. Lady Taria stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Zira, you have brought a new understanding to our household. Humans are not only clever, but they inspire growth, creativity, and adaptability. You have learned from them and applied your abilities in a way that honors both species. We are grateful for your dedication and brilliance." Zira inclined her head. "Thank you, Lady Taria. I have learned that humans are extraordinary, and that their methods, though chaotic, hold great value. I am honored to have been given the opportunity to learn from them." Even Lumbee seemed to nod in approval, twirling gracefully above the polished floors. Ilara stepped forward, smiling warmly. "Zira, you've done something amazing. You've mastered a human method, improved it with your own skills, and created something new. That's the essence of learning from each other. Humans plus aliens equals brilliance." Zira considered this. "Indeed, cooperation and adaptation lead to growth. I understand now that brilliance is not limited to one species. Humans and aliens, together, can achieve remarkable things." The day ended with the household sparkling, organized, and alive with energy. Zira felt a deep satisfaction in her work, knowing that she had not only cleaned the home but had transformed it into a place of harmony, creativity, and beauty. She had earned respect not through perfection alone, but through courage, adaptability, and collaboration. As the sun set outside the station, painting the skies with brilliant colors, Zira reflected on her journey. She had started curious, observing humans with skepticism. She had experimented, endured chaos, and learned from mistakes. She had collaborated, embraced unpredictability, and finally mastered the human cleaning method. And in doing so, she had discovered something greater: the extraordinary potential of humans, and the power of combining their creativity with alien skill. Before retiring to her quarters, Zira glanced at the mop and bucket one last time. Tomorrow, she thought, she might teach other aliens the hybrid method. Perhaps the entire station could benefit from this combination of precision and adaptability. And perhaps in the process, more beings would come to understand why humans were extraordinary. Not because of strength or technology, but because of creativity, resilience, and ingenuity. With a sense of pride and anticipation, Zira floated to her quarters, Lumbee following cheerfully. She had faced chaos, mastered a new skill, and earned respect. She had embraced unpredictability, learned from humans, and created a better way. And she knew deep down that this was only the beginning. Humans were brilliant. Aliens were precise. Together they were unstoppable. And somewhere in the household, Ilara chuckled softly, knowing that her human methods had found a kindred spirit in Zira, an alien who could match intuition with skill, chaos with control, and curiosity with brilliance. The story of their collaboration, their learning, and their shared ingenuity would become a legend in the household, not just a tale of cleaning, but a tale of growth, creativity, and the enduring power of humans, and the extraordinary potential unlocked when two worlds learned from each other. Zira smiled as she closed her eyes, finally at rest. She had faced chaos, learned from it, and turned it into brilliance. And tomorrow, she thought, would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities to combine human creativity with alien precision. For Zira, the adventure and the joy of learning had only just begun.